So what I realized was that the area of the game I undervalued, or at least underestimated the most, was the approach game. And so I started to ask questions like which approach disc would be the most consistent in a variety of shots and which would be most reliable in some of the most unfavorable conditions. And so today I wanted to look at 5 discs to see how to answer those questions for each one. And at the end of today, I'm going to give one of them away, and I'll give the details at the end of the video. So we're going to look at the one I throw, the Evolution Tactic, the Neo Tactic. We're going to look at the Discraft Zone. A lot of my friends like to throw that one. We'll look at the Innova Pro Pig. We'll look at the Westside Harp. And we'll take a look at the Infinite Discs Ruin. And we'll see which one comes out on top. But when it comes to the tactic, one thing I like the most is how consistently any tactic I've gotten has flown. They're all flat, they're all pretty reliable, even in the wind. So you'll see on forehand that if I want to throw it far and hard, I do have to put it on some hyzer. It'll still want to flip up pretty good, but it's still decently reliable. It's a bit of a touchy forehand shot. What I saw in the wind is that even when I would put as much on it as I was able to, and it wanted to turn over a little, so it still wanted to fight to come back. But when it comes to the zone, like I said earlier, this Z plastic just seems to not feel as grippy. It doesn't mean it's not as good. And I will say that in the wind, on forehand or backhand, the zone was extremely reliable. I didn't have to put it on hyzer and trust it to come back. Even on a little bit of turnover, it came back with a right to left, trying to push the flight plate down. So I think it was pretty good in the wind. And on these little touch shots, I think that maybe it's a tendency with some of these approach discs to not want to hang it out too far because it might not come back. But the zone, it definitely came back. Then when it came to the pig, on forehand, this was more touchy than the tactic. It was capable of handling quite a bit of torque on the backhand and still came back. I think on the backhand, it has a more reliable fade than on the forehand. And maybe some of you know better than me. Maybe that's just to be expected on some, but that wasn't the case with the zone. And then the Harp, it has a similar, just nice flat top as the tactic. This one again was also actually more touchy on the forehand, so unless it's on a very steep hyzer, it definitely wanted to flip over. And even on a backhand little 200-foot shot, it didn't want to fight against a left to right wind. And so for me, that wouldn't be considered too reliable in a unfavorable conditions. So a little bit too touchy of a forehand for me, and not a hard enough fade to fight back. And then we came to this Ruin, which has a really weird, or at least unique is a better way to say it, just weird rim shape. When it came to the forehand, this was the least reliable of all. It wanted to flip over significantly anytime on forehand. And on the backhand, it was consistent in under 200-foot throws, but when I really tried to let loose on it for a 300 plus, this was another one kind of like the Harp that wanted to hold straight for the longest time and turn over for a bit longer and then have a strong fade. I don't know what really causes that. If you guys do, I'd love to know, so that when looking at this, maybe you can just see it physically. But the Ruin for me was one of the least reliable and least consistent. At the end of the day, the zone came out on top with being the most reliable in unfavorable conditions and the most consistent in every throw I threw. I do think the tactic was the next most reliable in unfavorable conditions, and one of the cheapest ones I could find, followed by the Pro Pig, primarily for its backhand, but then lastly came the Harp and then the Ruin. So now for this giveaway, I wanted to be able to give somebody one of these 5 discs, whichever one you either like to throw the most or would like to try. And so all you have to do is make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and then in the comments below, just put the disc you would like. And what I'll do is, in the next video that I'm going to do with the Iron Samurai 4 in a few days, I will draw a name, and from the people who are both subscribed and comment the disc they want, and I will send you that disc. But if you guys also know of any other good approach discs or have any insights about these that I just wasn't aware of, or maybe you have different experiences with them, I'd love to hear and see about them, so comment below and let me know. Another thing, you guys can go to the Armory Disc Golf, link somewhere around here, has an amazing online website. You see phenomenal pictures of the disc, the exact disc you want, and he gets it out to you extremely quick. And if you use this code Armory10Taylor, then you can also get another 10% off your purchase for pretty much all these discs that I try to do comparisons of. I would also like to know, since this is the first time I've tried to do 5 discs, maybe that's too much, maybe it's fine. So if you guys could let me know in the comments below, maybe you should just keep it to 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 20. That'd be really helpful. So yeah, see you guys soon.